I don't think I've been ever hyped for any movie as much as I was hyped for The Batman since the beginning of the pandemic. The Batman represents so much more than just an average superhero who's fighting unrealistic supervillains. The crux of all the good Batman arcs is the Batman fighting against his own morals, where each villain poses a question to him which does not have a straight answer. Even if we do not go into the animated gems like The Dark Knight Returns, Mask of the Phantasm, Under the Red Hood, The Long Halloween, or Batman Beyond, and just stay in the realm of live action movies, all the three movies of the Dark Knight trilogy bring up questions that have no right or wrong answer. Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins believes that crime requires brutal punishment, and if someone does not have the will to act and take decisions which may seem harsh, then he can never become a true protector of citizens. Joker in The Dark Knight was a symmetrical opposite to Batman, who matched Batman equally in intellect and was true to his philosophy that the world is just chaos, and everyone, however upright and righteous they seem to be, when things start going south, the first thing that they'll throw out of the window is their morals. The Dark Knight Rises, which is probably the weakest of the three movies in terms of psychological warfare, but made up for it in the action sequences, had Bane being equal or maybe better than Batman in strength and physicality, and brought up the question of what would happen when you build an entire structure based on a lie. The truth always comes out, and catastrophe ensues. Now, one may disagree and say that capital punishment is not the right solution, and people are not animals, but you can never prove it. No one can say for sure. What Nolan did was to give an answer that had hope, that a city can be saved. People have principles and they stick to it, even when their life is on the line. Now, personally, I don't think that's true, but it doesn't even matter what I personally think, as my view is as good as yours. Now, coming to Matt Reeves' The Batman, the trailer was so good, and the beginning sequence when the Batman is introspecting that his 2 years of fighting crime have not made much of a difference, as crime is still rising, actually tries to bring up an interesting question which has never been explored before. In any endeavor that you start where chances of succeeding are low, the beginnings are always tough. Night is always darker before dawn. Even if you are the Batman, you have to figure out what this job entails. And he says that he needs to push himself, which is what a normal human committed to his purpose would do. But it just goes downhill from there. The movie had good action scenes, but at least part of all of them were already shown in the trailer. I've been seeing so many reviewers going gaga over the portrayal of Riddler, but think about what I said about the Nolan villains a few minutes ago. How would you feel if Ra's al Ghul started stealing money, or Joker would kill someone for revenge? What makes these villains so ominous is that they always stick to their convictions. But in this case, you build Riddler up like he's some super genius vigilante who kills corrupt white privileged men. Yes, white privileged men. But I'm not even going to get to the political undertone in this video. But let's say that was his victim profile. Then why did he target Bruce Wayne? No, you're gonna come and tell me, don't remember the sins of the father quote from the movie. But why then he not kill the son of the mayor, since the mayor's son's father's sins did not befall upon him? But then you may say maybe the Riddler only punishes one guy in the family. But again, Bruce Wayne's father already got murdered. So where is the sense in that? All this just seems so off. Then comes the climax, Riddler's masterstroke, where he blows up all the seven seawalls and floods the metaphorical New York City. What was the point of that? The killers were shooting randomly at the people in Gotham Square Garden. Were only corrupt people being killed? There were definitely some skyscrapers beside the garden. Some of the potential victims could have gone upstairs in those buildings. And where did his whole ideology to unmask the truth go? If he actually wanted to murder the mayor, then where was the evidence provided that the mayor was corrupt herself? And she definitely wasn't white. So, what was all that about? And the riddles that Littler was coming up with, especially the flying rat one, was so vague that if you could think for an hour or maybe even less, you could have come up with some or the other answer, which would have been true with whatever logic you came to that answer with. I feel riddles should be something that when you get to know the answer of, you feel how in the world could you have missed it. And honestly, by the time they figured out it was Falcone, I was like, okay, you first said it was the flying bat, the Batman, then the penguin, now Falcone. I mean, if you tell me it was someone else now, I'll believe you too. I just want to see what happens next. The whole portion seemed drawn out, and I never thought I would actually be bored watching a Batman movie. Now, coming to the Batman himself, Robert Pattinson, was actually good. Definitely the correct choice for playing the role. But again, story did not do justice to his acting props. Why did he jump into the water and started helping people who were already kind of safe? Now, you may say it was symbolic that it was him leaving his vengeful ways, but it was a very convoluted way of showing it. And why didn't anyone remove the mask of the masked vigilante when the police caught him? Anyone knows why? I did not even like how the relationship between Bruce Wayne and Alfred was portrayed. I'm totally fine with you having a different take when Bruce is cold to Alfred initially, but then he's angry with him that he feels Alfred lied about his father's past when he goes to meet him after he's bombed. And then Alfred said maybe Falcone killed him, or maybe it was an act of random violence. And Bruce just melts. It felt like how Daenerys turned and burned, whole, burned the whole city in Game of Thrones final season. It was done so badly that I did not feel any emotion that I honestly wanted to at that moment. Now, what I do feel is the movie was okay, at least okay enough to watch once, but definitely not as good an origin story as Batman Begins, and certainly not even close to any of the next two Dark Knight movies. And comparing Riddler to Joker, Ra's al Ghul, or Bane would just be a disgrace.